Now we not gonna left the party till it done. Get it in, hey, check it out, hey, get it in, hey, check it out, hey, it's going down, hey, mash it up, hey, mash it up, mash it up, mash it up. Get it in, hey, check it out, hey, get it in, hey, check it out, hey, it's going down, hey, mash it up, mash it up, mash it up, mash it up.
Wake up, moon outside, it's a party. Hop up, dedication, it's a party. There can't no destruction, it's a party. Too live, too lit, move with the body. Wake up, moon outside, it's a party. Hop up, dedication, it's a party. There can't no destruction, it's a party. Too live, too lit, move with the body. Yup. Look, it's a Sabbath day, yeah, it's a Sabbath day. It's a Sabbath day, yeah, it's a Sabbath day. Why you sitting by yourself? That ain't good for your health. Get off your ass, put some pep in your step, brother. Can't wait to spend some time with my brothers. Got a bond with my brothers, share my mind with my brothers. We've been fighting stormy weather since the day we met each other. Fight the rain and the wind so the sun can show us better. Look, he used to move with the mob. They had separate gang ties, and now the only time they fight is in the fight for Jake lives. There's no surprise, it's a struggle. We recognize if we hurting, we sympathize every Sabbath, we energize. But I had to cut my mom on a Sunday, had to rise and shine on a Monday, had to clear my mind on a Tuesday. Eat them cracking back, so I'm praying for a doomsday. And I ain't really worried about a Wednesday. Plus it got no muscle, so it's just another weekday. And Thursday feeling just like Wednesday, but Friday a prep day. I'm prepping for the Sabbath day. The sisters in the back and they stepping. How you dance with a weapon? It must be like this in heaven, yo. I just seen a little girl stepping and she dancing with discretion. She just talk cardio, listen, let's go. I need to rest my mind for a second, sip some wine for a second. I see every section stepping, look. And I ain't never gotta feel threatened, cause security gon' check them. They might even have to stretch them, look. We been working too hard, and this the part where we show we set apart. This is Noah on the ark, this is Jonah on a mission. This is Peter going fishing, this is world domination. Learning precepts from the bishop, look. Another family reunion, I see my brothers. They pay tribute to the mothers that help us get through the struggle. Elders change their education from season to dedication. Send a brother get promoted like watching the graduation. But I had to cut my mom on a Sunday, had to rise and shine on a Monday, had to clear my mind on a Tuesday. Eat them cracking back, so I'm praying for a doomsday. And I ain't really worried about a Wednesday. Plus it got no muscle, so it's just another weekday. And Thursday feeling just like Wednesday, but Friday a prep day. I'm prepping for the Sabbath day. The sisters in the back and they stepping. How you dance with a weapon? It must be like this in heaven. I just seen a little girl stepping and she dancing with discretion. She just talk cardio, listen, yo. I need to rest my mind for a second, sip some wine for a second. I see every section stepping, look. And I ain't never gotta feel threatened, cause security gon' check them. They might even have to stretch them, yup. We been working too hard, and it's the part where we show we set apart. Where we show we set apart.
Sheesh! My people going to war. We bringing out the fire. Those heathens we ignore. Cause we know that they're liars. I'm reading in the we reading in the they reading in
Hey, shalom, brothers, shalom, sisters, Most High in Christ bless. It's also Lemuel. Y'all are tuned in to Inner Scripts.
Reloaded.
All praise to the Most High. Who I got on my left?
Officer Shema.
Who I got on my right?
Officer Yakub.
Who I got on my far right?
Officer Kashar.
We got one brother missing in action. Officer Karim. He went down with an explosive case of diarrhea. So
Not again.
Lord will again.
All over the place.
These brothers
Yeah,
just
he
died
went
rich.
down with it. So Lord's will he'll be back next week. We send our prayers for you, bro. You're going to be all right.
Yes, sir.
You're
Yes,
going to
sir.
be all right.
Yes, sir.
So now we got to jump straight into it. We late, so we're going to jump straight into it, Officer. What you got, bro?
We're dealing with critical race theory. We're going to take a good look at this thing called critical race theory. And you know what? We're not going to take a bunch of time. We just, like you said, we're just going to jump into it. let's go to the beginning. What is critical race theory? Let's check that out and see.
And I know while that's loading up, I know y'all have heard about it. I know FCN talked about it a couple of days ago, and so we want to touch on it. We got a couple of different pieces to look up, so give us a thumbs up whenever y'all are ready.
This thing been real.
Let me say
controversial.
some more words.
Yeah. I'm gonna help you out. I'm gonna help you out. I'm gonna fill you in. This thing been real controversial throughout the educational system. So it's hard to try to find exactly what critical race theory is because so many people start to bring in their own narratives and terms about it. So we're just gonna find out what it is.
Right.
All right, let's play it.
This toxic ideology has spread throughout every facet of life. Critical race theory creates.
Y'all got to pause these things so you can read them.
Go back just a little bit. It said, critical race theory creates categories of the oppressors and the oppressed, and underpins identity politics. But what is it? It seeks to solve concerns about racial inequality. But instead of solving problems, it creates new ones. Who made this video? It promotes a belief that America is a fundamentally racist country.
Pause. So, is that bad? Is that a lie?
And is it promoting it, or is it just informing the foundations or the fundamentals of this country?
Right.
Fundamentally racist.
Right.
We got the books. Trust me. We're going to show
That's
how
right.
America's a fundamentally racist country. We got the books.
That's right.
Go ahead.
And that all of our institutions are designed to maintain white supremacy.
Facts. I'm just saying. Run it. Keep playing.
Critical race theory sees every human relationship in terms of a race-based power struggle. It sees institutions like law, education, and business as the main source of racial problems.
You know what, officer? Because if you go back to that clip with that black female, right? It was a problem not too long ago with her having her hair like that.
Right.
They would make her straighten her hair out.
Right.
So some of this is part of critical race theory. You know what I mean? And some the other nations, the so-called white folks, deny that even happening. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, go ahead, play.
No, you
go ahead.
said that. What is it? The Crown Act, I think is what it's called, the Crown Act. And just go back a few clicks to where it said inequality, power struggle, something like that. Go back a couple of seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one right there.
Thank you. Critical race theory sees every human relationships in terms of a race-based power struggle, but it's not a race-based. We're not in a struggle for power.
Right.
Black people have been in a struggle to be treated as humans.
Right.
For our hair to be accepted amongst the dominant society.
Exactly.
So it's never been a race-based power struggle by any stretch of the imagination. We know who has power in this earth today.
Exactly.
Job 9:24 tell you that.
The earth was given to the hand of the wicked.
That's it. Play on.
It sees institutions like law, education, and business as the main source of racial problems.
Pause right there real quick. Let's look at whether or not those are main sources of the problem. Law. There's a problem in law in America.
Bill Cosby.
Bill Cosby.
Prime example.
Prime example.
Dang.
Prime example.
Prime example.
Right.
So I don't think that that's a theory. It said
Business.
Black Wall Street.
Black Wall Street.
Okay.
Hundreds of businesses.
Right. Hundreds of businesses.
If we bring it up, WFAA, they've been talking about they've had their below 30, meaning below I-30 to my South Dallas, and the inequity of the number of banks that loan for housing
In those
below
areas.
I-30
Right.
as opposed to above I-30.
Right.
Millions. When I say millions, I'm talking about millions of dollars
Right.
lost in the black community based on piss poor business practices with these banks.
And we did a show on Redline.
And we
That
did a
sound
show
like
on
redlining to me.
That's what it is.
Sounds like that might be a part of the
Modern
That is a
day
part of the problem.
redlining.
problem. Yeah.
Or
And then
is
the
it-
next one was, what was it?
It said law, business,
Education.
education.
Education. You hear about Martin Luther King Jr., hey, let's assimilate and just be with them and be like them. But you don't hear nothing about Malcolm X. You don't
Never. Never.
Nat Turner?
Never.
No. Dessalines? Oh, no.
Never.
None of
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Never. Never.
And that's one part of critical race theory. They try to add that narrative that teaching us about our history in America is somehow a problem. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even to the point it became like a national security breach or something like that. You know what I mean? Because the fact that they was talking about, two generals was talking about stuff that had to deal with national security, but all of a sudden critical race theory came up in that.
Wow.
Like, wow, like really, is it that serious about us trying to learn about us? This get brought up in a national security? Come on, man.
So if Negroes learn who they are, they will riot.
Is that what they're saying? Is that's what the uproar is about? I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's what I would think that they're afraid of seeing, being that, I mean, you know, they look at the history of Haiti. They look at the history of, again, Nat Turner and those revolts. They look at the revolts of the Moors. Anytime that there was an oppression that happened and a group of people, our people, realized who they were, what the oppression was really about, I mean, there was usually some type of stance that took place. They don't want to teach that because what does that do? That awakens the spirit in us.
Right.
You know, as ancestors, to say, wait a minute, they were right fighting for that.
Right.
So to them, that becomes a national security threat.
So pretty much, they walk around. The other nations walk around with a fear or paranoia every time they see our black faces because it reminds them of what they done to us in this country.
Right.
So they walk around paranoid, thinking at some point we're going to wake up and attack them if we learn about who we are and our nationality.
Matter of fact, give me Exodus 1. This is what it is. Exodus chapter 1. Exodus chapter 1 and start at verse number 7.
The book of Exodus, chapter 1 and verse 7.
Mm-hmm.
And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly
Like us here in America. Go ahead.
and multiplied
Mhm.
and waxed exceeding mighty,
Mhm.
and the land was filled with them.
Like they try to say we're only 14%, that we are the minority, but okay. All right. Keep reading.
Now there arose up a new king over Egypt,
Mhm.
which knew not Joseph.
So this is them when they took over, you know, when they were able to conquer us, right? But then this is also dealing with right now, with the new governments and everything set in place, you know, far away from the ideas of, you know, old Britain, but now fully strengthened in American ideology. Go ahead.
Verse 9. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel
Them they're Negroes and wetbacks. Go ahead.
the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we.
Uh-huh.
Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land.
That's what it is.
Hey, you know what, officer?
National security.
That sound like 1776 also,
It is.
right? Because they just celebrated the 4th of July, right? But we was in slavery, right?
Right.
And they even gave us the opportunity, Britain gave us the opportunity, look, come on outside and you can be a slave under us. Or stay over there and be slaves over there.
Right.
But our people tend to celebrate the 4th of July. Well, you know, it doesn't make any sense. And even going into that, Juneteenth, I mean, that's, what is that? You know what I mean? What are you going to do? You're going to sort of celebrate 4th of July or Juneteenth? You know what I mean? And then when we go back to critical race theory, think about this. It's a lot of people don't even know what Juneteenth is. Yeah. And people don't even want critical race theory being taught in the schools. So how you going to even have a holiday when nobody knows about that you won't even teach in school?
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
It's confusion.
This country is so hypocritical.
It's confusion.
It is.
This whole country is a hypocrisy.
Yeah. Look who it's run by.
Exactly.
Right.
All right, play on.
The solution critical race theory promotes: overthrow them. Hold on, pause.
See?
We have other videos as well, but who's saying this?
Right.
Who's teaching this?
Pharaoh.
No,
That's the new Pharaoh. He like, bro, don't teach them nothing, man. They gonna overthrow us.
But they're saying, but this is saying critical race theory at its foundation is teaching that we should overthrow. But y'all just had January 6th where y'all just tried to go overthrow. Bruh. So it was good then, but in the classroom, just even talking about what's going on, what happened in the past, that's promoting overthrowing. I don't get it.
The hell is this?
Somebody help me.
Hey, look, they know who we are, man. They not putting all these movies out and dropping all these little things inside of these TV shows, you know. I mean, because some of the stuff that they dropping in these movies, right? Like we were just discussing them. The one with Mark, what's his name? And then the other one, the war movie. And then what I was just discussing, the season 1, chapter 8, title Easter. They dropping all of this stuff in these movies because you remember Bishop said one time that they're what is it? They're trying us to see who's actually awake.
Oh, how much knowledge do we?
Yeah, who is actually awakened? Because they know that an awakening has to happen. They know that to be fact. Like they believe in the Bible more than we do, which is what heightens their fear.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean? That's why.
They probably waiting on it's time to execute Plan Z, right?
Plan 155.
I mean? Right, okay. It's time to execute different plans. So it's just, to me, all this thing is just a fear of, they just paranoid.
It is.
Scared of us.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And they got every right to be. Because once we wake up and find out that we's Israelites, they ass out. I mean, it's a wrap on them. It's a wrap. All we got, you know what? That's why it grinds my gears. Shout out to Peter,
Family Guy.
Right. When you see your people dressed up in red, white, and blue and popping fireworks, you know what I mean? God. But you got to understand that we was the same way back before we learned this truth. You know what I mean? Before the Most High decided to wake us up. So, but still, that's give us every reason why we should do shows like this to point out things like critical race theory, just to get our people starting to turn in the right direction, to see what they're trying to do to us. You know what I mean? Just the very fact of us learning about us is a threat to them.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And we're going to play it after this, but and just finish it. People can read. Mm-hmm. We don't never get through the video. You read the whole thing.
Bad. Yeah.
But just play the video because I forgot my damn point. Go ahead. Overthrow them. Critical race theory rejects individual freedom and personal responsibility. Stop pausing. You know how to read fast, Kashawn?
I mean, I do, but I think you just did it fast enough. I think I'll be able to do it. I'll praise the
Play
Lord.
it.
Bruh.
It divides people into racial groups, pits the groups against each other. It judges guilt or innocence based on race. This threatens the best ideas of the American founding. How can we fight back? Speak up. Ask your children's teachers what curriculum they're using for civics, English, and history.
The ones white people approve?
Yeah. See, we the people.
Right.
Proudly tell the truth about America. We're the land of the free with unlimited opportunity. I'm laughing reading this. Pause it real quick.
Oh my God.
Look at the imagery.
I'm laughing reading this.
I was wondering how you were gonna finish that with a straight face.
It's hard getting through this. It's hard getting through this thing, man.
God.
We fight toxic ideologies like critical race theory by sharing the truth.
The truth?
Hold up. That's the other way around. That's how we fight, by sharing the truth.
That's right.
Right? Go ahead.
Well, hold on. One of the things it just said, a way you can fight against this, ask your teachers. Ask the teachers what curriculum they're going over in the school. I saw a comment on Facebook in one of the teacher groups where it said we should have a live stream in the teacher's class to where parents can join in. If the parents join in, the only thing they're going to see is these kids misbehaving, not listening. God. Parents are going to be like, I'm ashamed to see what my kid was doing. I understand what you're saying now. Parents don't really want to see that. They understand that their kids is bad.
Like parents ain't got whole jobs they going to.
Let me tune in to reading, 5th grade reading.
They barely pass reading class. What the hell they finna tune into yours for?
Right.
The hell? Play on. Got this
The
bone.
Heritage Foundation.
Right. Right.
God almighty.
Allowing every American to pursue the American dream.
Oh, God.
All right, go to the next video, man, because one of the authors of critical race theory, she's actually going to tell us what it was created for. So now she's going to give us the truth.
Hey, y'all know, hold on, pause. Y'all know after that Edomite got done hugging that Jake, he went home, took a shower, and
Oh, yeah.
called him nigga right before he got in his car and left.
Absolutely.
I think that was probably before COVID-19, so he probably had some what you call that? Some
Hand sanitizer.
Come
some
on now,
bacteria.
dog.
He even
Lysol.
put it on
He
himself.
sanitized himself.
Damn.
All that before he got in his car.
Racist. You racist.
Racist.
Play on. Did you?
Is not so much a thing, it's a way of looking at a thing. It's a way of looking at race. It's a way of looking
Take it back
at
just a
why
second so
after
we know what they're talking about again.
critical race theory is not so much a thing, it's a way of looking at a thing. It's a way of looking at race. It's a way of looking at why after so many decades, centuries actually, since the emancipation, we have patterns of inequality that are enduring. They are stubborn. And the point of critical race theory originally was to think and talk about how law contributed to the subordinate status of African Americans, of indigenous people, and of an entire group of people who were coming to our shores from Asia. And the point was, quite frankly, to understand the problem in order to intervene in it, to understand why the greatest hopes for our republic were not being realized, even though these hopes were encoded in law. So critical race theory just inherits the beliefs and the hopes of Frederick Douglass, of Martin Luther King, who basically want the law to do for the freed people what the law did for enslavers. And we picked that up in the 70s and 80s after the civil rights movement to say, okay, so now we've had this big civil rights movement. We have all these laws in the books, but things really aren't looking as different as they should if we are really the society that we say we are. So we put about the task of understanding how law wasn't just the neutral referee. Law wasn't always on our side. In fact, law was less on our side than for on our side. And we wanted to tell these stories in order to do better with the promises that are embedded in the Constitution. That's what's in critical race theory.
So is critical race theory, is there a K through 12 curriculum that right now is being taught?
Listen up.
I know
pay
it's a
attention.
question, but is there a K through 12 curriculum on critical race theory that's being taught in schools around this country?
Well, look, Joy, if it was news to most Americans that critical race theory was in K through 12, it was news to me too. I'm one of the co-authors of one of the few books on critical race theory.
So, critical race theory, how they're using it today, how they're using it in the media, they're saying critical race theory, we got to get rid of it. And then when people that are informed on what critical race theory is, they start to ask them questions. So what is it? You know, what's the problem with it? Oh, it's making our kids feel bad. But the people that are saying that obviously are Edomites.
Right.
And just like the last, it's teaching them to divide people by race and color. Like, so the curriculum kind of already does that whenever you're talking about the colonists coming over here, conquering. You know, you talk about the Indians, you start talking about Issachar, but you're talking about them in a negative light. The curriculum already does that. What this is talking about, what the sister's saying, this is just at its foundation is asking, why is this still happening today, even though we've had so on and so forth, civil rights laws, you know, amendments, so on and so forth come into place. Why is this still happening? Esau is just taking it and say, you know what? This is just about anti-racism. You just making little Timmy feel bad. You making my son feel bad. You saying that he's a natural-born racist. Who's doing that?
And so one thing also, if the person that wins the war, they can control the narrative.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they can be able to teach whatever they want, and it's nothing we can really do about it, but have discussions about it. But they can actually put plans in place like what they're doing now.
They can pass laws.
Exactly, officer. Exactly.
Now, something that she said, the last part that she said was that it was news to her as far as it being a K through 12 curriculum. Is critical race theory a K through 12? Is it a curriculum?
No. It would be amazing if I went into a classroom that I go to and I said, okay, kids, today we're going to talk about the plight of Black America when it comes to housing. And like we were just talking about the mortgages and getting loans. Kids going to look at me like I'm stupid. They're going to be like, what are you talking about? They don't, in the education system today, is speaking about public schooling, they don't teach you to teach the kids as far as how to be thinkers, how to really evaluate what's going on. They just say, hey, okay, listen, this is what we have at the end of the school year. There's a test. On this test, they're going to want to know what's the main idea, what's inferencing, how to do inferencing, you know, how to find your theme of the story. We just need to teach these things because that's what's on the test, and that test score on that kid's going to get or that school's going to get determines what grade our school gets. So we're not up in school talking about nothing deep. We ain't up in school talking about, you know, critical race theory. Right. We up in school probably spending 40 minutes at that, if you got that, 40 minutes reading a part of a story just so I can teach you how to find the main idea and make sure, hey, you know how to find the main idea? What's the main idea up in here? The kid's going to be like, one of the kids over there doing TikTok dances. It's no real learning going on in the classroom. They're just learning how to take the test.
So why are these Edomites? Why are they having making a big deal out of this? If it's not in the school system, they don't want it in the school system.
How I'm looking at it is,
I'm sorry, and so we do have brothers that are scholars in IUIC Dallas. Trust them,
praise to the Lord.
We got doctors, we got lawyers,
that's right.
Got teachers, we got a little bit of everything. So trust me when we tell y'all, we're giving y'all the straight facts. We're not giving y'all our theory. We're not giving y'all nothing more than the facts from the inside. So go ahead.
So when I was in my freshman year of college, this was like orientation where everybody went to the little theater or whatever the case is, and they were speaking to us. They had a key speaker, and for what random reason, I remember him just randomly saying, you know what, in 5 years, this is 2011 when he said this, he was like, 5 years, Hispanics are going to be the majority of Texas. And I remember back then, I was like, he just randomly say that. I'm like, what that got to do with anything? But now you see, with Hispanics, blacks and Hispanics, we are the majority of Texas. If you come down here to Texas, that's what you're going to see, blacks and Hispanics. Majority of them, they speak in Spanish. A lot of Hispanics out here don't even speak English. They just speak in Spanish, and they live in a jolly old life still being able to survive out here because you can, because there's a lot of Hispanics supporting Hispanics out here. But anyways, with that being the case, that affects the school system. There are a lot, I say Garland or Dallas ISD, 60, 70% minorities, meaning blacks and Hispanics. That's what makes up Dallas ISD.
Right.
So with that, a lot of parents, people that educate themselves, they do think, they like, hey, what's going on with this curriculum? Why are y'all still teaching that Christopher Columbus was a discoverer?
Right.
Y'all need to teach about the other side of the story, that he came over, he conquered some people, that Andrew Jackson, he wasn't a great man, he slaughtered a bunch of the Native Indians. Those kind of conversations have been had and are being had, but the pushback now is that from Esau, they're saying, well, that's making my kid feel uncomfortable now. So you can't teach that because that's racist. So they just didn't flip the script on us. It wasn't racist when Andrew Jackson conquered the Gad, but now it's racist because you're pointing out the fact that that's an evil act that he did. Damn. In the bill itself, they say you can't, in the bill itself, that got approved in Texas, is that you cannot talk about current events. Unless you could talk about both sides without being partial.
Wow.
How is that possible?
Wow.
But generally speaking, do y'all have enough time in a year?
Oh,
because
God.
I'm thinking about just generally speaking as a teacher. Do y'all really have enough time in a year to cover everything that happens on top of teaching to a test, on top of?
Listen, they got what's called a pacing guide. Pacing guide, they want you to cover a certain amount of things because on X date, X date, we got a test. They got a BOY, beginning of the year test, MOY, middle of the year, end of the year, or end of the year test. We got a pacing guide to make sure in that beginning of the year test, this is what we're going to have on the test. You need to make sure within those 2 hours that you got with them kids, you divide up maybe 50 minutes for this, for reading. They scratch, in my grade level, they scratch writing. They like combine writing with reading because we need to, because this grade level only test the reading. They don't test writing.
Damn.
So they said just scratch the reading part, the writing part, combine it with reading. And then they say they social studies stuff, and this is well known amongst teachers. They don't give a damn about no social studies. They're not trying to talk about no history. They don't care about no money. They don't want to teach you how to save money. They don't want to teach you none of that stuff. They say, hey, listen, teach them how to pass this test and make sure that they can just move on to the next grade level and we can get this funding.
Hey, real quick. Hey, AV, remember where we're at on this video because we want to come back to it. There's still a little bit to see. But remember where we're at on here. Go out of this. I want you to go down and pull up that quote by, was it Rockefeller?
Rockefeller.
Yeah, by Rockefeller.
Esau, Idumean, Edom.
That's him.
Rockefeller himself.
Oh, the devil?
Yes.
That's what you're talking about. Oh, okay.
The devil.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
The devil, the
You
Bible.
want to make sure
speaks
we
of.
was talking about the same person.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yep, that would be him. He's the pappy.
Yeah, and I read just looking at some of this stuff when we was finding the quote.
Yeah, right. But yeah,
They said
right
Rockefeller, the one that made this quote. They said this dude is known as the richest man in modern history. So this is wealthy. Rockefeller, he had money, and you'll see in one of the quotes what they allude to just the amount of money and resources that they had at their fingertips.
Yeah. Well, remember he said that. He said he didn't care about what the politics of the nation give him control over the nation's finances or whatever. That's all he was worried about.
So he says, I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers.
Wow.
So now why is that important?
So for John D. Rockefeller, if you can go to the other one, John D. Rockefeller, go to the other link where it talks about the General Board of Education. What we're seeing today, they're not arguing like one of the
philosophy.
They're not arguing. Don't teach history, because they want you to know that you was conquered. They want you to know that they're the founding fathers. They want you to know all the good stuff about Esau, but they don't want you to think in your correct mind, okay, I'm not the same people as John F. Kennedy, as Abraham Lincoln, as Andrew Jackson. I'm Native Indian. I am a Mexican. I'm the people that got conquered. They don't want you thinking, why were we conquered? How does that affect me today? How do I get out of this situation? They don't want you just thinking whatsoever in a light to where you can even come up out of this situation. They just don't want you thinking whatsoever.
They don't want us to be critical thinkers.
Right.
And it's crazy because they in the school system they have, you know, you got to make sure you're asking these critical questions. That one word that a teacher that a coach told me, that's what they call them, coaches. She said, there's one word that really gets the kids going. Why? She was like, make sure you implement that up in your teaching, and that's just gonna get it. The sister that came up with the 1619 project, even the people that's talking about critical race theory, their foundation is they just want to know, why is this still happening?
Mm-hmm.
So they're just trying to practice and they're just trying to figure out what's going on. But Esau like, you looking, I don't need you looking over there. I need you to just focus over here. I need you to be a worker. We got jobs that we need you to fulfill.
Right.
We don't need you thinking. We don't need you coming out with no great stories. No, you know, like what it says here. Let me go to it.
Hey, let me pull a script, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
To explain why. Deuteronomy 32:7.
The
why we need this history.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32 and verse 7. Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations.
So the Bible tells us, this shows how America's philosophy is not built on biblical principles. Right? Like they stole a lot of things. Judicial system comes from the system of the Jews, right? So they used a lot of our laws and a lot of our standards, but they completely perverted them. They made them perverse, you know, in the way that they used them. Because the Bible says the reason that there should be critical race theory is because we should remember the days of old and consider the years of many generations. Go ahead.
Ask thy father.
How do we ask thy fathers? We look back into the history of what happened to our people. What happened to us? Why did it happen? And how do we avoid it happening again so we don't stay in the same place? Go ahead.
And he will show thee thy elders, and they will tell thee.
So we'll know how we're supposed to function and what happened to us when we read Deuteronomy chapter 28 and see that the Bible said that our ancestors went through it, but in verse 46 that these curses would be upon your seed forever. So now we can go into the book and look at it and say, what happened? What is the theory or the understanding of our race? Oh, we went into slavery because we went against the laws of God. We broke God's laws. So because we broke God's laws, this happened, that happened, that happened. And then what do? We remember who we are. And we begin to work ourselves back into a position away from servitude into rulership. That's why we need critical race theory. Based on the truth, of course. Based on the truth. Go ahead.
So look at general education. Just this is, look at you, scroll down just a little bit, it says the board. The board was created in 1902 after John D. Rockefeller donated an initial $1 million to its cause. The Rockefeller family would eventually give over $180 million to fund the General Education Board. $180 million today, around $5 trillion. So ain't nobody just giving up. Even if it was today, ain't nobody just giving up $5 trillion, not thinking, okay, I'm going to get a return on this money. So he gave up this $180 million in 1902, knowing that there was going to be a return on his money and that it would accomplish the job that it set out to do.
And what was that job that he set out to do?
I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers. So this is a board. This is a man that they call a philanthropist, is investing in general education. Basically, this is what helped form a lot of the policies and the educational system that we have today. So go down to Frederick Taylor Gates. He was the man. That was his advisor. Let me see. It says the General Education Board prominent member Frederick Taylor Gates envisioned the country school of tomorrow, wherein young and old will be taught in practicable ways how to make rural life beautiful, intelligent, fruitful, recreative, healthful, and joyous. So go down to philosophy. Let's look at the philosophy of this. You
go
can
up
scroll
and just
up.
click on the link that says philosophy.
So this man invested $180 million in 1902 into general education. Let's see what their aims were. What was their dream? It says, in our dream, we have limitless resources, and the people yield themselves with perfect docility to our molding hand. The present educational conventions fade from their minds and unhampered by tradition. We work our own goodwill upon a grateful and responsive rural folk. We shall not try to make these people or any of their children into philosophers or men of learning or men of science. We have not to raise up from among them authors, editors, poets, or men of letters. We shall not search for embryo great artists, painters, musicians, nor lawyers, doctors, preachers, politicians, statesmen, of whom we have an ample supply. So Esau is basically saying right here, the goal of this education system that we want to put in place, we don't want anybody that's influential to come up out of our education system. We don't want anybody that can be influential, that can move you, that can do anything, that can rile you up, that can rile your spirit up. We don't want any of that. We want them to just be straight up workers, or slaves.
I was just about to say.
Slaves.
Glad you threw that out there.
Slaves.
We ain't just talking about workers.
Yeah. So it says, Maria said, I'm going to jump down. It says, so we will organize our children into a little community and teach them to do in a perfect way the things their fathers and mothers are doing in an imperfect way, in the homes, in the shops, and on the farms. So with this policy, their aims were just to say, hey, we don't want these kids learning. We don't want them thinking outside of the box. We already have made a box for them to be in. We need them just to stay there so that they can push our agenda. They can push our will. They don't want any going against the grain, which is why today when you got Jakes that be rappers, athletes, so on and so forth, and they start to go outside of what's approved, they get backlash.
Exactly.
What was the brother now? When that was taking a knee?
Colin Kaepernick.
Colin Kaepernick, with LeBron James, when he started speaking up, they said, shut up and dribble. They said, just do what you're supposed to do. Right. We already have a job. Our forefathers already set in place what it is your job is supposed to be and what it is my job is supposed to be. Right. Your job is to work and be the slave. I'm supposed to be the one that benefits from all that you do. So this is the people. These are the people, Esau, they the ones that form what we got today. All of this stuff, it's not like this just... They were just like, oh, forget about this. We ain't gonna do this no more. Yeah. We got black people came up over, Puerto Ricans coming over. We got to switch it up for them. Esau like, no, my forefathers set something in place so I can benefit for it. We need to continue. Right. But because the conversation is being had now, Esau like, they thinking 10 steps ahead. If they start trying to think why, that's gonna spawn more questions and more questions. Yeah. And that ain't gonna be good for them. Right. Because they ain't trying to answer them questions. Right. They saying, nigga, shut up.
Hey, get Ecclesiastes 10:19 real quick. I'm stuck on this money part. $100 million from one man. Mm-hmm. Just hell, let's say, what was it, 180 or whatever?
180 million. 5 trillion today.
5 trillion today. Let's just say, let's move it up to today. Let's say it's $1 million. Read that real quick. Please.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 10 and verse 19. A feast is made for laughter, and wine maketh merry, but money answereth all things.
So if you want to laugh, have a feast. Have brothers over, sisters over, whatever. If you want to be merry, drink some wine. Right. But if you want to answer anything else, have some money. That's what the scripture is saying. So now you think about that. Esau, because they have thoughts past their nose. Black people generally don't. Right. We don't think past our nose for the most part. They had, this Edomite had the foresight to say, let me invest $1 million today because I know it's going to move generations beyond me. Not just physically or whatever. We're talking about these kids today, and I'm gonna be frank, they grow up retarded in these in the education system. So when I say retarded, I don't mean in the literal sense of medically. I'm talking about when it comes to education, when it comes to how to learn. Fundamentally, you talking about 2-3 years old is when you really start to learn and develop. Imagine releasing your children to the devil for 8 hours a day, like we all did, most of us at least, for 8 hours a day, being indoctrinated with all the BS that we're talking about right now. This Edomite saw this. He saw in 2021, he may not have known it was critical race theory, but he knew, they're going to be BSing about race and all this other stuff. At the end of the day, they gonna be taught whatever the hell I want them to be taught.
And they're going to carry their ass to work. Right. You doggone right.
He saw that generation. So imagine if black people thought past their nose and Mexicans thought past their nose and said, yo, let's pull a couple of dollars together. Let's put our own school together to make sure we're raising up our children right.
Nah, bro, that's racist.
That's some racist
That's
stuff.
racist. That's racist.
Imagine if we had that level of foresight.
Right.
Damn.
You know what's critical about that? What's critical about that is that it kind of reminds me of the Willie Lynch letter. And it says, without a phenomenon, all this stuff will happen. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to put a stop to this. Go to Revelations 1 and 3. This is how you put a stop to all this
That's
madness.
right. Bring it out.
One of the things we got to do, we got to stop playing Esau game.
Right.
The book of Revelations, chapter 1 and verse 3. Blessed is he that readeth.
When it says, blessed is he that readeth, read your history. Your history is right here in the Bible.
That's right.
Read.
And they that hear the words of this prophecy and keep those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand.
Hey, you know one of the prophecies? Hey, go to Revelations. I just want to bring this out real quick. One of the prophecies, Revelation 13.
Mm-hmm.
You know what kids be saying too in the school? I hate reading.
Mm.
They like, reading is so boring.
Exactly.
I'm like, damn.
I used to say that.
Exactly.
I was one of them slow
Man.
kids. in
But the
school.
Bible said, blessed is he that readeth.
Right.
I didn't get smart till I got to college.
Hey, facts.
I was just dumb.
Yeah.
I failed 2 classes. I failed my sophomore year. One of my class, my geometry class, my sophomore year.
College geometry.
I failed,
Geometry.
geometry. I failed Spanish, so I had to take them both my senior year.
Damn.
You know what it felt like to be 18 years old in a class with 15-year-olds, man?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord, have mercy.
Oh, you fit
Go
right.
ahead,
You fit
I'm
right.
just-
Oh, no, I'm saying.
Hey,
But you,
I was one of the slow kids.
but you fit right in though. You fit right in. They ain't even know. It ain't like you was just a huge. Matter of fact, go ahead and read that scripture there.
Get back to the scripture.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
the-
yeah.
Yeah.
Go to Revelation 13. Let's start at verse 9.
13 and 9. Okay, yes, sir. Revelations chapter 13 and verse 9. If any man have an ear, let him hear.
Listen to this. Listen to this. So go ahead, Austin.
He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity.
And you know what's important about that? That's one of the reasons why they don't want you to learn about your history. They don't want you to learn that you're an Israelite. Because critical race theory in 1619 and all this stuff all going to return back to the Bible. Because we're going to be out in the corner teaching our people who they are, and they're going to hear it. You're going to pass a flyer to a 5th grade student, and a 5th grade student is going to read it, and he's going to go to the classroom and tell one of his friends that we the Israelites.
Right.
We the people of the Bible.
Right.
Read.
He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword.
So we went into captivity. That means whoever put us in captivity is going to be taken into captivity. And that's one of the prophecies that you get when you read it. That's why it says, blessed is he that readeth.
So, and it's crazy because even with that scripture, they have no problem with you coming in, with Esau coming in and saying, you know what? White people were enslaved too. They were indentured servants, or just flat out slaves. They'll just say, yeah, white people were slaves too. They ain't got no problem with you saying that because they know that goes contrary to what the scriptures would tell us. When brothers would come to that understanding.
Right.
They ain't got no problem with that being put up in there. But once you start saying, okay, no, that's not the case. You got a brother or a sister that is Jake in the classroom, and they want to speak their opinion because they know that this is a lie.
Y'all schooled in something.
And
They saying that y'all cut out of the camera.
That's one of the things. One of the things too, officer. One of the things again when you said it in indentured servitudes. That's one of the reasons why they don't want to teach us in the school about our history because they want to be able to say that we was brought over here because we wanted a job. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we sold ourselves. We got on the ship and sold ourselves
Yeah.
so we can have a better life.
Yeah. Hey, read Psalm 64 because again, we're going into how they think. So they don't want us to look at our history, but let's look at what they do. Again, when you look at books like the book of Judith, right? Judith chapter 5. When you look at what happened with Cyrus or Darius when they stopped the building of the temple, right? Remember, what did they go and do? They went and read those books to know our history, to know how to deal with us.
Exactly.
So they don't want us to read, but if you want to hide something from a Negro,
put it in a book.
Put it in a book. Let's watch out Amos 64 and 6.
The book of Psalms, chapter 64 and verse 6.
Start at verse 5.
Verse 5. They encourage themselves in an evil matter.
They encourage themselves. Secretly, they have think tanks where they sit down and they send out a memo saying, look, this is how we moving against them. We got to be smart. Go ahead.
They commune of laying snares privily.
And they do it privately, right? With their think tanks and their conventions. Read.
They say, who shall see them?
Who's going to see us? Ain't no God. We are God.
Mm.
Epiphanies. We are God. What are you talking about?
Right.
We are God. Nero.
Right.
I'm God. We got the Pope. The Pope is God.
Right.
Go ahead.
They search out iniquities.
So they search out iniquities, but they tell us not to look back to our fathers, though. Don't look and see what Jean-Jacques Dessalines did.
Right.
Don't look back and see what Nat Turner did. Don't look back and see what Marcus Garvey did. Don't see any of the movements where things were able to somewhat come together. And we know that there's a deeper thing than that. It wasn't the time.
Right.
But don't look back to that, though. Go ahead.
They accomplish a diligent search.
They do a diligent search. The who is it? The Church of Latter-day Saints. They say that they got everybody's history logged down. That's why they're the ones that run those what are those platforms called where you can go, the DNA testing platforms and they have everybody's what is it?
Is it 123 and me?
123 me and all of that. Yeah, Ancestry.com. All of that's Church of Latter-day Saints. They're the ones that are seeking out the DNA of all of the people and allowing people to come on and say, oh, yeah, I'm connected to this person so that they can connect the dots to see how far back you go.
Right.
Go ahead.
Both the inward thought of every one of them.
Every last one of them.
And the heart.
Their mind.
Is deep.
That's all they do is deep thinking.
They don't want you to be a deep thinker.
They don't want you to be a deep thinker. That's why Rockefeller said what he said.
He said no philosophers, no politicians, no preachers, no nothing.
Don't do it.
And that's why you said something. You said you went back to Willie Lynch, and I was saying that's a great phenomenon. And you got to think, man, damn, in 2021, you look at a lot of the young men that, you see like Sons of Jacob and stuff like that, reading out of the King James Version Bible.
Bad.
Old Quaker English.
Yeah.
Right,
You don't got adults that read like that.
Exactly.
Right.
But the Spirit of the Lord, when he's on you and when he's in you, you know it because you got 4 or 5 years old. You got it out of the mouth of freaking babes that can recount their history. So now go to that, get 2 Kings 18:18. Pull up that definition I just posted. Because you said something, Kashai. You said, Officer Kashai, you said that, a lot of the kids don't like to read, which I was one of them. Y'all was too, right?
Yeah.
I always like reading.
I know it wasn't
I
just
didn't
me.
always like reading.
Yeah, okay.
I went there with the 16 years old looking like a 5th grader, but
Okay, first of all, I don't know why he went back there. Why'd he go back there?
I don't know. I just
we
feel
was
like I
past
owe
that.
you one
That's
for
what
the
we call
past
a jug.
for the
See,
past
that's a jug.
shows.
That's a jug.
For the past
That's a
shows,
jug,
I'm finna
man.
get mine in now. For the past shows, man.
You get yours in. Officer. Get it in.
Yeah.
Read that real quick.
The book of 2
Your
Kings.
tall self.
Ooh, I got you.
Go ahead, bring it.
Don't worry about it. I got you. Go ahead.
The book of 2 Kings, chapter 18 and verse 18. And when they had called to the king, there came out to them Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, which was over the household, and Shibna the scribe, and Joah the son of Asaph.
Read the name SH. Read the name again.
And Asaph.
No, I said SH.
Oh, Shibna the scribe.
Shimon the scribe, right? All right. You see, scribe. This is the definition of scribe. It says to count or to recount. Scroll down. Scroll down. Hit Control F. Oh, I think y'all using a Mac back there. Hit Control F so you can use the search function. And just type in READ. Read. There we go. One of the definitions of, that's not the one, but keep going down. Or just hit the next arrow. Y'all don't know how to use it, Lord. Just hit the next arrow. No. There you go. Click it again. Click it again. There you go. All right, Job 38 and 37. To recount or to recount, count exactly or accurately. It's always been in our history and in our spirits to be readers. It's in this education system under Esau where now we got the spirit of not wanting to read, not wanting to recount history, not wanting to. That's under this captivity.
Right.
That's why Esau's always been had a propensity to be trying to destroy our books and stuff like that.
Right.
They understood. Where's that?
Right.
Y'all help me out.
Jeremiah 17 and 4.
No.
Books are
Where they
destroyed.
were burning the books.
Yeah, they were
First,
burning the
is it
books of Maccabees.
Maccabees?
3 and 8,
yeah,
3 and
Maccabees.
48. When
Hey, I'd like to take this time to say I actually
said
enjoyed
when
reading
they-
as a kid. I just didn't want y'all teasing.
All
me.
praise to the Most
Yeah, I
High.
just didn't want y'all teasing. But now that I know this, yeah, I used to like reading as a kid, bro.
you said when they was burning the books off.
I think that's it. Y'all help me. I'm counting on y'all.
Second Maccabees 3 and 48 going into
No,
how they
second.
painted their
Actually,
images.
it's in Esdras. Second Esdras 15.
Second Esdras
Mhm.
15.
Is that right? What it say? Burn the books? Yeah, well, that's it. That's it.
First
If it say burn the
Maccabees.
books, that's what I want. First
156.
Maccabees. First Ezra's
Yep.
1
First Esdras. Okay.
and what was it?
No, First Maccabees 1
First
and
Maccabees
56.
1:15.
First Maccabees 1.
The book of
15.
First Maccabees, chapter 1, in verse 56. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law which they found, they burnt them with fire.
They did what? Jump up to the verse above that. I'm not even there. Hold on. Let me get there with you.
55?
No,
No. That's burnt incense.
I don't know. I haven't read it in a while. Hold on. First Maccabees 1. What verse y'all at?
56.
56.
That was
Start at verse 54.
Verse 54. Now the 15th day of the month Caslu, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar, and builded idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side.
So these were Edomites. These were Greeks that came in and they started to ransack our temple. They set up idols and all that crap. Go ahead.
And burnt incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law, which
And when they did what?
rent in pieces the books of the law, which they found,
Our history, which they found. Go ahead.
they burnt them with fire.
They burnt them with fire. It's always been in our spirits to be readers, to be learning, to recount. That's why we had scribes that would accurately and count exactly our history. It's always been in our spirits. That's why when you see these young children, don't. It is an astonishment because for generations we've been like, I don't want to read, I don't like to read. You have a few Officer Yakubs, but they're few and far in between. For the most part, what's this dude's name? I ain't mean that.
which
as a
one?
jug. I
No,
was-
no,
Which
yeah,
one?
no, I didn't take it like
What's the dude's name?
Rockefeller.
Rockefeller. When Rockefeller comes in, all of a sudden you have an entire generation that I don't like to read. I don't want to read. I don't want to know no history. I don't want to read whatever. But that's never been in us. It has always been in our history to read. Read on.
In that same one.
Yeah,
Verse 57. And wheresoever was found with any the book of the
So outside of the gold, the precious stones and all that was in the temple, because we had storehouses and stuff like we had treasuries and all that. So outside of that, Esau they were very precise and they knew what they was going after. Read it again.
It said, and wheresoever was found with any the book of the testament,
So wherever they found the book of the Testament, the Bible,
or if any consented to the law, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death.
they went so far as to put us to death over our books, over our records, over our laws. That's how far Esau will go to make sure that their kingdom stands and to make sure that we fall as a nation. That's how far they'll go. Now, at that time, it was physical war. Now it's not physical, it's carnal. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, principalities and powers in high places. I'm paraphrasing that, in high places. This is what y'all reading right now. This is the history we're going over right now. Everything that we're reading right now is biblical. Rockefeller and all that, he's in the Bible. Ephesians 6, read
That's
that.
right.
Ephesians 6. Rockefeller is in the Bible.
Bring it out.
Ephesians 6. You know what I want.
Verse
Just that one
12.
verse.
Verse 12. The book of Ephesians, chapter 6 and verse 12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places.
So from what year was Rockefeller?
1902 is when he
From
made this.
1902, and I'm just talking about that block of years. From 1902 to 2021, you see how it cost $1 million to destroy, as far as education is concerned, to destroy a nation of people. About 100 years is what it took.
Sheesh.
Listen, man. If Esau ain't the devil, I don't know who is.
The damn devil.
And what's crazy about that, for 400 or more years, they've been giving us their education. We haven't been able to educate ourselves.
Right.
But look how far we gotten without that. You know, just imagine how far we would be if we was able to go back to this book and like Officer was saying, youngsters reading the King James version of their history.
Right.
But that's what they're seeing. If Esau is able to look and say, in 100 years, this is what this will accomplish if we just stop making them thinkers. Esau today, they looking at this and saying, okay, in the year 2021, they asking, we need to think about this and how do we get here? So that means in the year 2121, they might be ruling over us.
Right.
So we don't need. That's how Esau think. So they like, we need to act now so that way that doesn't be our future. That doesn't come to pass.
Right.
That's just how they think.
Yeah.
We just looking at it like, but we just want to talk about the truth, brother. We just want to talk about history. You're not letting me get my side of the story.
What the hell is this?
Esau like, I don't give a damn about what you got to say. Shut up.
Yeah. Esau don't give a damn.
They got to establish the vision.
Right.
They got to continue to establish the vision.
So let's go back to the MSNBC video because I want to finish that. It shouldn't be but maybe a minute and a half or so left of it. But because she said something in there that was very important for us to understand about what's happening with this.
I would know if we were being taught in K through 12. I mean, basically, critical race theory, classic critical race theory is a law school course, and it's really, not taught as widely as I would hope it would.
Yeah.
But here's the deal.
So, pause. So it is a law school course. It's not a curriculum that they're even pushing in K through 12 schools. So why are they fighting it so hard in K through 12 schools? So she's going to explain why. Let it play.
This is not about whether anything called critical race theory is in K through 12. What they're calling critical race theory doesn't exist anyway. It is a backlash effort to reverse the racial reckoning unlike any we've seen in our lifetime. And as
Pause
you
right
pointed
there.
out,
You hear that? It is a backlash to wash out any racial reckoning. They want to stop Israel from waking up. They understand that there is a reckoning and that they're going to have to deal with what they've done once we wake up.
And that's the case for no reparations, because if you give reparations, that means you have to plead guilty for something, just like settlements and stuff like that. Well, there was some sort of wrongdoing there. They don't want to take accountability for nothing. Nothing at all. And y'all ain't finna tell us we did X, Y, and Z. We're going to tell you what we want y'all to know.
That's right.
In the bill, it said teaching that children of today are responsible for things that their forefathers did, or there's a consequence for that. You can't teach that, or you and as well you can't teach things of the past negatively affect you. Meaning, I can't teach. Yes, there was redlining. That doesn't mean that you don't have the same opportunity. They don't want you to allow people to delve into how does this affect me today. They don't want you to think that whatsoever. That avenue is closed off. They closing that avenue off.
I gotta read it. You got some more on this? Go ahead, let this play if you got more on it.
Yeah, no. We can let it go.
Okay, Isaiah 14:21. Because I didn't even post it, and I should have. I forgot. I didn't forget. I did forget. But I was watching a couple of these, and the dude Lamont Hill. I did post it where he was talking about. I don't remember where it is in the thing in the not with the. I can't do that one.
Hey, you gotta shut out.
I can't. Oh, yeah, they can share it on. I can't again.
I got 2 short times.
I just want the part, and you may have the time step in there where he said he does not identify as white.
That started like 17. Is that one? Mm-hmm.
Okay, let that play first. Play that first, and then I want to read this.
The first Lamont Hill video.
Because this goes into the reckoning or the recounting. They don't want to recount. They don't want to reckon what their forefathers did. They want to try to detach themselves from their forefathers.
Right.
They want to detach themselves when it affects them negatively.
Yes.
But the reaping the benefits, they good with that.
They good with it.
The good jobs, they good with that.
Right.
The good education, they good with that.
Right.
Not getting knocked upside the head, they good with that. Not
Right.
getting shot in the streets, they good with that. Nope. Go to
it's the wrong
It's
video.
the one that's
YouTube.
yeah.
I mean, not YouTube.
It's the one. It's Mark Lamont Hill. It's the very first one. Go down. Down. The other down. Yeah. I'm backwards on this thing. So not that one. The one above.
Above.
Oh, yeah. While y'all looking for that, I'm going to read this. Psalms 45:10. I forgot this one. Shout out to Officer Jacob, who's going to join the show eventually.
All praises.
All praise to the Most
Clearly,
High
I got
God
to
of
pay him
Israel.
off at some point
Right.
to get him on the show. But
Praises to
nonetheless,
The book of Psalms, chapter 45 and verse 10. Hearken, O daughter, and consider, and incline thine ear. Forget also thine own people and thy father's house.
so he sent, I guess he's not going to explain. Would you like to grab a mic and Well, forget it then. 'Cause play the video.
Earlier on, when you're talking about sort of how Asians have study habits, that's its own kind of racial essentialism that actually also is contradicted by data, right? When you disaggregate.
I'm going to tell y'all now, it's a lot of big words in here. Again, I didn't grow up reading like that. So y'all will need a dictionary as y'all. Okay, listen, I ain't need y'all to play that one. There's a lot of big words in it, existentialism and a lot of isms and stuff like that.
Brothers say stuff like
we'll try to break it down as best we can with our little 5th grade educations.
Right.
All praise
go
to the
ahead.
Lord.
Among students, Cambodian students have very different outcomes than, say, Japanese or Chinese or Korean students, but we tend to lump them all as all being Asian. That is far more of a racial essentialist argument, I would say, than critical race theory
Where'd you start?
would argue.
You started at 1810?
Critical race theory.
Yeah, 17 right now.
That is being taught in public schools today in places like Seattle and Portland is that if you are a white student, you have internalized whiteness. That is equivalent with being an unconscious white supremacist. That's equivalent of being a racial oppressor, and that you have to go through a stage of, quote, white identity development in order to atone for the sin of being white, in order to purge yourself as much as possible of your whiteness. And these are ideas and practices that are just completely insane. I think applied to any other racial category, it would be wrong. And I think it's wrong applied to white students in schools like Seattle and Portland.
That's fair. And forgive me, I wasn't interrupting you. There was a little pause there.
So catch me up real quick. So is he saying that teaching us about our history, because that's how they're using critical race theory these days, right? So is he saying us learning about our history is purging them of their whiteness?
No. What the Edomite is saying, because remember, he's against what they are saying is critical race. They're just making a boogeyman. They're saying critical race theory. He's saying, and remember, he said Seattle and Oregon or whatever, they're teaching that because you are white, you inherently have privileges, you're racist, and you have to do things to atone for those. He's saying that's happening, but like the sister just said, and like many people online, this stuff ain't happening in the classroom. Nobody's teaching this.
So he's saying, so let me get this right. If this were being taught in the schools, right, it would somehow make the kids that had nothing to do with slavery feel guilty about their whiteness, about how their fathers living in great neighborhoods and have great jobs and CEOs.
That's what they're saying the problem is. That's what they're saying the problem is. That we are being racist against them.
Oh, they don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to face the facts of it. Okay. Okay.
No, they want to conveniently recount their history. When it comes to all these statues and all that, they good with that. But this, they don't want to hear that. Go ahead.
That's fair. And forgive me, I wasn't interrupting you. There was a little pause there. So let me ask you a quick question first. Do you identify as white?
I mean, I'm an Italian American, so you tell me. I think, like, you know, my father, who's an Italian immigrant, would be very confused. He'd say, what do I have in common with a Swedish person or an English person or a German person? We're totally different. We have different cultures, different languages, different customs. You know, I think that lumping people into white, black, Asian, as you suggested, is such a crude and broad categorization. I think we'd be a lot better off trying to drill down into specifics. and not trying to pit racial groups against one another in the political battlefield.
Pause there real quick. That is so convenient.
Right. Isn't it,
that is so convenient for you to be
hypocrisy.
able to just say, I don't want to be considered white. I don't want to be considered Chinese. We just all.
Right.
We just all we. We just we and us, and that's we. That's it.
Right. That's the same thing Amalek does with this damn anti-Semitic.
Anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
God.
We don't want to be grouped into that.
That's exactly it. What was you gonna say, Austin?
No, well, I'm saying it's crazy because like he just stated, grouping people into white, black, it's negative, it's bad, it's terrible. We shouldn't be doing this. But on the back end, if you're saying that, that means it was true for whenever it was only white-only restaurants, white-only stalls, white-only this, white-only that. So why can't we talk about the consequences that had in that time, and how can we make sure that we can alleviate those issues today? They not trying to have that conversation at all. But they're just gonna stick to it's bad, it's bad, it's bad. Let's just move forward. Let's just be all one. That's y'all are being anti-racist, y'all anti-racist. It's Esau the devil. I mean, that's just the only way you can look at it.
That's it.
It's just
That's what it boils back
They
to.
don't want to talk.
Right.
You're trying to speak rational with them, and they know very well what you're trying to say. But they just like, nah, I ain't gonna let you have this one.
If you look at this whole 25, y'all just go watch the whole 25 minutes, man. And y'all see, Lamar, and as much as Lamar, my brother,
Politics. It's politics.
Politics. Yeah, I'm gonna just be nice. Appreciate you, bro.
No problem. No problem.
He nice, but he give it to this dude. He's like, yo, he's nicer with this Edomite than he is with
Yeah.
with Jay. I know y'all peeped that. I know y'all peeped that. But
Yeah, he is.
you could tell this Edomite, he didn't know what the hell he was talking about
Right.
at all.
Right.
Go ahead, play it.
So, again, I understand that you're Italian, and I understand that there are people who are Swedish, and you say, what do you have in common with a Swede or with, say, a Polish person or whatever? That thing, my answer to you, that thing would be whiteness. And as you've read critical race theory, I'm sure you've read the work of Ignatieff and others who talk about the way that ethnic groups like Italians come here. They're hated, first generation in particular, right? You don't speak the language. Italians were seen as bad at school, untrustworthy, all these vicious slurs around Italians, or the Irish, for example, right? When we read the work of Roediger and others, right? And then there's a moment after second generation where you get lumped into this thing called whiteness. When you're driving down the street and a police officer sees you or they see me, that your ethnicity isn't the point. Your race is. When they police see me, they don't care whether I'm from Jamaica or Haiti or whether I'm a descendant of slaves. They just see blackness. The American Racial Project is what puts you in the same boat as a Russian or a Polish person. Because you all are white.
So, in layman's terms, what he's saying is for the Irish, the Swedish, the German, whenever they come over here, yes, initially your father that came over here, first generation and second generation, they can't speak the language that's common in the community. They can't do that. They don't have the skill set to do the things that are common. But through assimilation, them being, basically melted into their Esau-ness, they're able to become one with their fellow Edomite brother. But Jake, on the other hand, when they come over here, if you coming from Jamaica, you coming from Haiti, wherever the case is, you coming over here with black skin, best believe you're going to run into a roadblock.
Right.
And even with Issachar, they try to do it their best, and they say, don't deal with the niggas because they can't get past that roadblock. But we a little bit lighter than them. Let's assimilate. Let's accept all their practices, and we'll be Edomatized. That's a word that I just made up. Edomatized. Edomatized. And in Northern Kingdom, it don't happen like that for them either because y'all are black too, a.k.a. Israel. Y'all are Israel too. It won't work. It only works for Esau, Idumean, Edom. It don't work for us.
That's right.
Damn, play on.
Edomatized.
You in the same.
Yeah, we hold up, pause real quick because we're not gonna slide past that like that.
Edomatized.
We're not going.
Jesse Jackson's nephew.
We'll come up with the definition later.
That's Jesse Jackson's nephew.
Just making up words on the fly.
Only Jesse Jackson can pull a word out the thin air like that.
Everybody just go with it like,
right.
Edomatized.
Right. Yeah.
Man, he went to college.
Hey, let's go ahead.
Hey, that's Messi Jackson, not Jesse Jackson. Little Messi Jackson. Edomatized.
Playoff.
see blackness. The American Racial Project is what puts you in the same boat as a Russian or a Polish person, because you all are white, and whiteness becomes this thing that is a marker of power. I mean, if I were to say to you what you like about being Italian, you could name lots of customs. You could name lots of things, and you can deny being white, right? But that's what whiteness studies is about. It's about outing your whiteness. You can say you're not white. You can pretend you're not white. I'm not saying you're doing that, but the world still treats you as white. And if I were to say to you right now, Christopher, what do you like about being white?
Look at that smug-ass look he got on his face.
Damn.
Play on, man.
Look at that. Look at that right there. Look at him. He said, this nigga is too good.
Yeah.
Damn. He said, I don't like this one.
But he said that's a privilege of your whiteness. It's to say, I'm not white. You know what? You're so white, and your privilege is so white that you can say, I'm Native American. And everybody will say, damn, he's Native American.
Yeah.
The white man said it.
Yeah, right.
That's it.
Right.
Bruh.
Play.
But the world still treats you as white. And if I were to say to you right now, Christopher, what do you like about being white? What would you say?
I don't know. Again, it's such an amorphous.
All right, cut it. That's it, man. Let that in.
Yo, y'all just go watch the whole thing, man. It's a good 25 minutes. But I want to read this. So in light of that, read Isaiah chapter 14, verse 21. Because again, even within that article, I mean, not that article, that video, you know, he attempts to pull himself away from the sins of his fathers, his forefathers. Right. But God said, y'all ain't getting away that easy. I don't know what's wrong with y'all. Y'all can play that on this side.
Right.
Isaiah 14:21.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 14 and verse 21. Prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers.
For the sins of your forefathers, you're going to have to pay.
That's
like,
right.
that's period. When we finna go to the books shortly, and we're going to see specifically what y'all got to pay for. Read. We're going to go into some critical race theory in a minute.
That's
Read.
right.
Prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities.
So that you don't fill the face of this world with cities. We got a call? Go ahead, take that call. Hey, Shalom caller, what's your name, question, or comment?
Yes, this is Officer Jacob. I wanted to call in just to say a few things. You guys struck a nerve with this topic. A very important topic you guys are bringing out right now.
Speak your speak. Sir.
And it just made me, just the smug look on that heathen's face kind of made me think. They're born to think a certain way. And they actually justified our captivity, them taking over the nation, them taking over the Western Hemisphere. And they actually got it in their textbooks as manifest destiny. It's basically that God-given right to kick everybody up behind. Right. They believe that, but you know what? They actually, with that said, they actually know the Bible better than we do, because that's prophesied in Deuteronomy 28:48, Leviticus 26:16. Right. They're what they call inalienable rights. It's in their Constitution. It's in their Declaration of Independence. It's all about them. And I just wanted to just throw that out there. Like they have justified their existence and put it in textbooks, and they understand it clearly. And it's time that we catch up and start understanding that the more we come back to these laws, statutes, and commandments, we're going to reverse these roles on them.
That's right.
Okay?
That's
right. And actually receive our manifest destiny.
That's right. All praise to the Most High. And he's 100% right. I don't know. They're fulfilling prophecy. That's point blank. Period. Mm-hmm. They're fulfilling prophecy. From Rockefeller, what they claim is manifest destiny is prophecy. That's it. Y'all will prophesy to be the head. We'll prophesy to be the tail. Y'all are prophesied to go into captivity.
Right.
That's prophecy. That's the destiny. We appreciate you calling. Where are you from? Where are you from?
Yeah, you sound smart.
Yeah, we sound like he's near somewhere, but we're not gonna.
Hey, under the tutelage of Captain Isaac.
All praises to the Most High. So you're under the tutelage of some of the best.
That's right.
That's right.
All praise. Hey, well, thanks for calling.
All praises. Shalom, Most High, Christ bless.
Shalom.
Shalom.
We got some odd ones out here in Dallas, man. I don't know. Some of you brothers make me nervous.
Try to act like that didn't just happen, but at least
Yeah. All right. Was I making a point?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
What point was I making?
You was at Isaiah 14. Where
Yeah.
Sins of the Father.
Verse 22.
But Officer Jacob had made some great points, though.
Yeah.
He made some great points.
Verse 22.
Verse 22, Isaiah 14 and verse 22. For I will rise up against them, saith the Lord of hosts.
God said he's going to use his son to rise up against Esau, Edom, Idumea, whatever the hell you want to call yourself, if you, Italian, Russian, Greek, Polish, whatever you want to call yourself. Read.
And cut off from Babylon the name and remnant and son. And
The name, we got to go slow on that one.
I got you.
The name and remnant and who?
And son.
And son. And who else?
And nephew.
And nephew, saith who?
The Lord.
Saith the Lord.
Wow.
So we're talking about lineage.
Right.
We're talking about lineage. Notice how it didn't mention anything about the women or
no.
wives or mothers or
Right.
nothing like that. Why? Because it's going into pedigree.
That's right.
That's what it's going into.
Right.
See, some of y'all caught that went past some of y'all. Y'all be all right.
praise.
Y'all go home, y'all take a nap, y'all wake up in the morning, y'all gonna get it. It's talking about pedigree.
That's right.
Lineage. Y'all gonna get it. And y'all gotta pay, period. Now, let's go into the books. Now, pull up the scholars. Let's go into some critical race theory. Go to the scholars page in our Telegram. This is a book. Don't worry about what the book is called. Hey, find that screenshot. I'll find it for you. Don't mess nothing up. Let me find it for you real quick. I'm gonna show y'all something real quick. I'm gonna show y'all what Esau doing with these books. Shout out to what's the soldier's name?
brother.
It's not live though.
The one that told you
from
about the book?
from the first book.
Yeah.
From the first book. I want to give that brother a shout out.
Yes, sir. I'll find out.
Yeah. I'm gonna show y'all something real quick. Here it is. I'm gonna forward this.
Soldier Abel.
Soldier who?
Abel from San Antonio.
How you spell it? Are you saying Abel? Or?
Abel, my bad. Public school.
Woo.
Soldier.
What college education? All right.
I'm gay. Soldier Abel.
Soldier Abel. Salute to Soldier Abel. Ooh.
Hey, I speak Spanish, man, so it messes up my English sometimes.
Right.
He gad, but he speaks Spanish with a public education, graduated from college. Anyway, pull up this first one. Oh man, but it's got the title in it, don't it? No, it don't. All praise to the Most High. Pull up that. No. Scroll all the way down. It's at the bottom. No. What? Which one are you on?
It was up top.
No. Go to the ITSR page. I just posted it. I want to show you how the price of what Esau is doing to some of these books. This is one of the books that I bought. I didn't pay $124 for it.
Yep.
I'm being patient. I'm cool.
Yeah.
We ain't got much time left. I got 20 minutes to get through.
Hey, come on, y'all.
Get through the pages I want to get through.
And thy patience possess thy soul.
Okay.
Right.
I gave him 5 seconds. Whatever.
Come on. Right.
I want to get to the. I want to get
Right
to
there.
the articles. Thank you. Okay. Y'all see, this is one of the books that I just bought. I didn't pay $900, $902.81. I just want to show y'all what Esau is doing with these books. I bought, me and Officer Lavi, we bought the last 2 inexpensive books. Scroll down a little bit. So now you can't get it for less than $124.
Wow.
How much you get it for, officer?
I don't know where else they would buy it.
How much you get it for when you bought it?
Don't you asking me questions? I'll tell you offline. Just know I didn't pay that.
Oh my God!
So I'm just giving y'all that to say we don't, we're not sharing no titles or nothing like that.
Yeah.
Y'all just know that this history is out there.
Right.
All right.
Hey,
now,
can I say something?
Yeah.
So for anybody, and this is not to make anybody fearful. God didn't give us a spirit of fear. What this is doing is to build your faith that what the Bible is saying is true, right? So the officer's explaining to you that he bought this at a much lower price. What they're doing is they're watching those of us that they understand have awakened. They're watching what we're buying, and they're jacking the prices up on them based on what we're buying.
So instead of burning the books, they're just outpricing them now.
Right. Because that's the equivalent of burning it.
Right. Because remember, this is not a physical fight.
Right.
This is not a carnal fight. This is a spiritual fight. And they understand that money answers all things. Are you trying to get your lights paid, or you finna buy a book?
Yep.
Esau, they don't think twice about it. I should get the book.
Right. What Deacon Ithon just say last week? We don't buy Jordans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
We don't buy Jordans. We buy books.
That's it.
We don't buy Jordans. We buy books.
All right, so let's go to this first one real quick. I'm gonna show y'all something. Actually, no. Don't do that one first. Let's go to the scholars page. Start from the top, and we're just gonna work our way down. I got like 18 minutes.
Bring it out.
Bring it out.
All right, read that in just the circles for sake of time.
It says, California may have entered the Union as a free soil state, but American settlers soon discovered that the buying and selling of Indians was a... You got to zoom in, brother. Was a common practice there. You want me to jump down to the circle? Or continue reading?
Is it cut off?
No, I just...
Yeah, go to the circle.
The first California legislature passed the Indian Act of 1850, which authorized the arrest of vagrant natives who could then be hired out to the highest bidder. This act also enabled white persons to go before a justice of the peace to obtain Indian children for indenture. According to one scholarly estimate, this act may have affected as many as 20,000 California Indians, including 4,000 children kidnapped from their parents and employed primarily as domestic servants and farm laborers.
That sounds awfully familiar. According to one scholarly estimate, this act, we're talking about the Indian Act of 1850. This act it affected as many as 20,000, I'm sure it's more than that, California Indians, including 4,000 children kidnapped from their parents and employed primarily as domestic servants and farm laborers. They weren't employed, they were slaves. Go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 32.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fell with longing for them all the day long. And there shall be no might in thine hand.
And there shall be no might in your hands to get your children back. And we just talking about California. Right. That's one state out of 50. Just California. Go to the next one.
Mormon settlers
Edomites,
arrived in Utah in the 1840s looking for a promised land, only to discover that Indians and Mexicans had already turned the Great Basin into a slaving ground.
Go ahead.
The area was like...
no, I'm sorry. No, there's more than that. So I want, in this part, just to show you that Edomites came over here looking for a promised land. And they discovered Indians and Mexicans. Scroll down. I think that's the only one on that one. Yeah, now go to the next page. Yep.
Captive in the land, the Mormons became buyers.
No, just in the end.
In the end.
In the end, Mormons became buyers and even found a way to rationalize their participation in this human market.
In this human market, read.
Buy up the Lamanite Indian children. Bring him young. Bring him. What is that?
Woo! Brigham Young counseled his brethren.
Go ahead. In the town in Parowan, and educate them and teach them the gospel.
You see that?
So that
Brigham Young counseled his brethren in the town of Parowan. These are Mormons, Edomites, and educate them and teach them the gospel. Educate them and teach them. Read.
So that many generations would not pass error, they should become a white and delightsome people.
There it is.
Who that?
There it
is. They telling you in their history books.
Right.
Read that part again. Brigham Young.
Says Brigham Young says, counseled his brethren in the town of Parawan and educate them and teach them the gospel so that many generations would not pass ere they should become a white and delightsome people.
So if you discontinue them and disconnect them from their history and you educate them with what you want to educate them with, your history, what are they going to become?
White.
Edomites.
Yes.
Chocolate-covered Edomites, light-skinned Edomites, whatever. Deuteronomy 28 and 48.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee.
God said he would send the Mormons against you. Your enemies, go ahead.
In hunger.
So all you Mexicans that is walking around Mormons knocking on people's doors, you crazy as hell.
Stupid.
Simple as hell, man. Go ahead.
And in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things.
It says, and in want of all things, education, religion. Go ahead.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck.
He shall put you in captivity or bondage. Go ahead.
Until he have destroyed thee.
He said, until you should become a white and delightsome people.
God.
Oh, there's more. Read on.
It said, this was the same logic Spanish conquistadors had used in the...
These are Spanish-speaking Edomites. Spanish conquistadors are Spanish-speaking Edomites, conquerors.
The same tactics they used in the 16th century to justify the acquisition of Indian slaves.
They wanted Indian slaves to become white and delightful people.
Kill the Indian, save the man.
Save the man.
So today we have what's known as, they consider themselves white Latinos or white Hispanics.
Right.
There's no such thing. But they got the same, they got the mindset that Esau wanted them to have, which is become a white and delightsome people.
And guess what? This is we talking about 1840s right here.
Damn.
This is way before Rockefeller. 60, 70 years before Rockefeller. Esau was implementing, putting things in place to make sure that they do what?
Right.
Kill.
Save the Indian, kill the man.
Save the Indian, kill the man. Read on.
It's Native Americans.
Where are we at?
Native Americans had enslaved each other for millennia.
But with the arrival of Europeans' practices of
there was a comma right there.
But with the arrival of Europeans, practices of captivity originally embedded in specific cultural contexts became commodified.
Money.
Expanded in unexpected ways.
Esau forwarded the affliction, expanded slavery in unexpected ways,
and came to resemble the kinds of human trafficking that are recognizable to us today.
They were buying and selling humans.
Wow.
Buying and selling the northern kingdom.
Wow.
That's what Esau was doing. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
And the Lord will bring you into Egypt or into slavery again with what?
With ships.
By way of cargo, slave, ship. Read.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
Ye shall be sold or trafficked to your enemy. Come on.
For bondmen.
For slave men.
And bondwomen.
And slave women.
And no man shall buy you.
And no man would buy you or redeem you out of that captivity.
Officer, what's crazy is going back to just the mindset of Esau and how they're trying to counteract what we're doing with specifically Texas and with Judah. Like we say all the time, Judah, they out here, y'all out here. I said y'all out here. But with Northern Kingdom, you see, we've been making a push for Northern Kingdom, Northern Kingdom.
Right.
So the way that they're they're coming against that is they're saying, you know what, with the whole critical race theory, we don't want y'all teaching, because they understand when Issachar start finding out, oh, damn, y'all bringing into my curriculum that we actually went into slavery on slave ships as well. It wasn't just so-called blacks and African Americans. It'll start to, just turn them light bulbs on. They don't want that to happen, so they just thinking forward about it. That's crazy.
Because what officers just proved in hindsight is that we are the Israelites. The so-called the Mexicans are the Israelites, and so-called Native American Indians are the Israelites, according to the Bible and according to scholars.
We're gonna read that in a minute.
Let's bring it out.
Next.
Scroll down. The earliest European explorers began this process by taking indigenous slaves Columbus's very first business venture in the New World consisted of sending 4 caravels loaded to capacity with 550 natives back to Europe to be auctioned off in the markets of the Mediterranean. Others followed in the admiral's lead. The English, French, Dutch, and Portuguese all became important participants in the Indian slave trade.
The Indian slave trade. Read.
Spain, however, by virtue of the large and densely populated colonies it ruled, became the dominant slaving power.
Which is why all y'all speak Espanol.
Right.
Because Spain was the what does it say? The dominant slaving power. That's why y'all speak Spanish. Read.
Indeed, Spain was to Indian slavery what Portugal and later England were to African slavery.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68 again.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 68.
Scroll back up.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt.
Into Egypt or into slavery.
Again with ships.
By way of caravels loaded to capacity with natives to be auctioned off in the markets of the Mediterranean. Not that by the English, by the French, by the Dutch, by the Portuguese, and primarily by the Spaniards. Go to the next one.
Number is so. Along with most other historians, I assume that the real story of exploitation in the New World involved the 12 million Africans carried off across the Atlantic. But as I kept collecting sources on Indian slavery in Spanish, Mexican, and U.S. archives, I began to see things differently. Indian slavery never went away, but rather coexisted with African slavery from the 16th all the way through the late 19th century.
Why? Because Judah and Israel was oppressed together.
That's right.
Read.
This realization made me ponder more seriously the question of visibility. Because African slavery was legal, its victims are easy to spot in historical record. They were taxed on their entry into ports and appear on bills of sale, wills, and other documents. Because these slaves had to cross the Atlantic Ocean, they were scrupulously, and one could even say obsessively, counted along the way. The final tally of 12.5 million enslaved Africans matters greatly because it has shaped our perception of African slavery in fundamental ways.
Read.
Whenever we read about a slave market in Virginia, a slaving raid into the interiors of Angola, or a community of runaways in Brazil, we are well aware that all these events were part of a vast system spanning the Atlantic world and involving millions of victims.
Hundreds of millions of victims.
Indian slavery is different.
So he's saying that African American, the history of African American slavery is dominant. It's out there. It's everywhere. You got all these movies and stuff because there were there was so much documentation. They were scrupulously counted when they came from the west coast of Africa here to America. But it's going to go to Indian slavery is different.
Indian slavery is different. Until quite recently, we did not have even a ballpark estimate of the number of natives held in bondage. Since Indian slavery was largely illegal, its victims toiled, quite literally, in dark corners and behind locked doors, giving us the impression that they were fewer than they actually were. Because Indian slaves did not have to cross an ocean, no ship manifest or port records exist, but only vague references to slaving raids.
So the history is not as readily documented as Southern Kingdom, as Judah, so-called African Americans. But the history is there. It's just a little bit more vague. Read.
Yet in spite of the clandestine and invisible nature of Indian slavery and the impossibility of counting Indian slaves accurately, we possess a sizable and continuous paper trail. Historians working on all regions of the New World have found traces of the traffic of Indian slaves in judicial proceedings, official inquiries, and casual mention of raids and Indian captives in letters and assorted documents. Considered in isolation, a couple of hundred Indians here and there do not seem to amount to much. But once we contemplate the breathtaking geographic scope of this traffic and consider its full chronological sweep, the numbers are astounding. If we were to add up all the Indian slaves taken in the New World from the time of Columbus to the end of the 19th century, the figure would run somewhere between 2.5 and 5 million slaves.
Y'all can quad. Right. I don't even know whatever big word is. Multiply that times a million.
Million, right.
It was way. Let's just use the number 2.5 to 5 million slaves.
Lie.
We just gonna go with that because that's just what's documented.
Right.
The Northern Kingdom is the bulk of the nation of Israel.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. Just multiply 2.5 times 9. Just by 9. Just by the 9 tribes.
Yeah.
Well, 10, this dam's over. So you're talking about at least 50 million slaves that were transported to Europe, to Spain, to Portugal. What was the other one?
Dutch.
Yeah.
The Mediterranean.
Yeah,
Just
to the
entire
Mediterranean
area. Yeah.
Read on. Now, yeah, read on. Read that.
It says, Europeans had the upper hand because of their superior war technology, specifically horses and firearms.
Because that was Esau's blessing, the art of war. Read.
Which allowed them to prey on Indian societies almost at will.
Which allowed them to prey on Indian societies almost at will, because that was the blessing that the Lord gave to Esau, Edom, Idumea.
Right.
Right.
But it is the only reason why that history seems vague and you don't get a lot of Northern Kingdom history, even though I'm sure we're going to find it. Trust and believe. And we already starting that process. Digging a Thun is
right. Out hidden history.
Listen, this is just a snippet. This is just a snippet of the history that's out there. But I'm just talking about, we just talking about the thank you. We just talking about the this little bit of history right here. Of where they were shipped to. Yeah, this is very surface level. Very surface level. So now go, I think that was the last one, right? On that. Yep. So let's close out with that last one that I just posted.
Yo, man.
All right. So now, the curses should solidify for you. The scripture says the curses will be upon us for a sign and for a wonder and upon our seed forever. But just in case you confuse lost days and then a wonder and you're not really sure, let's read another history book to solidify the point.
Okay, it says.
No, pull it up right here so I can see it. My eyes ain't as bad as his.
Hey, we all got glasses. Oh, no, we ain't all got glasses up here.
I got them.
All right, go ahead.
All right, it says.
Just read from the top. You don't get it.
In order to discuss the real and truthful account of the.
Start from the top. Yeah, my bad.
In order to discuss the real and truthful account of the origin and beginnings of these Indian nations, so mysterious and remote to us, and to discover the real truth about them, some divine revelation or spirit of God would be needed.
Some divine revelation or spirit of God.
Damn.
The Holy Spirit of God has been endowed and put on his people in these last days to be able to get a hold of these books, get a hold of this history, and to be able to bring it out for the people for this critical race theory stuff.
That's why they scared. They know.
That's why they scared.
Yeah.
Blessed is he that read it.
Blessed is he that read it. Go ahead.
However, lacking this, it will be necessary to make conjectures and reach conclusions through the many proofs.
So he said, apart from the Spirit of God, he said it's necessary to make conjecture, which is guesses or theories, race theories, and reach conclusions. Go ahead.
Through the many proofs that these people give us with their strange ways.
With their strange or peculiar ways.
And manner of conduct in their lowly conversation. So like that of the Hebrews.
Why? Because these Indian nations are Hebrews.
That's right.
Read on.
Right. Because of their nature, we could almost affirm that they are Jews and Hebrew people.
Not we can affirm based on their ways and manner of conduct in their conversation that they are Jews. Read.
And I believe that I would not be committing a great error if I were to state this fact, considering their way of life, their ceremonies, their rites and superstitions, their omens and false dealings, so related to the characteristics of
related to and characteristic of
those of the Jews.
Those of the Jews. Those of the Jews. Read.
The Holy Scripture is witness of this, and we shall use it as our testimony.
The Holy Scripture, the Bible, is witness of this, and we shall use it as our testimony. So y'all make sure y'all follow us on Facebook.
That's right.
YouTube, Instagram, all other social media platforms, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. All right. It don't get no clearer than that. This critical race theory stuff, this is the race theory that y'all need to go with. We are the Israelites, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And with that, we say, Shalom.
You are listening to In the Scripts Reloaded.